although they often live in weather we find unpleasant. They are beings who have an extraordinary interest in the moral element at work in human social order. They adhere so strongly to the moral element that they consider we ought not to have a real physical body, or at least we ought not to have a body containing earthly and watery nature. They wish they could have shaped humankind like themselves, making us into entirely moral beings, though without freedom. We would be better off, in their view, if we did not have a physical nature at all, and were moral beings alone. And during the year, these beings battle furiously to draw the human being away from the earth and pull him into their own sphere, to alienate him from the earth and make him earthless. These beings are especially dangerous for anything in us that is quixotic or ungrounded, any kind of foggy mysticism. People with a tendency to foggy mysticism and ungrounded enthusiasms succumb very easily to these beings who seek to draw us away from the earth, to make us a kind of angel so that we cannot possibly fall prey to immoral temptations. This probably sounds very strange and paradoxical. These powers expressed in the wind and weather, pulsing in the atmosphere, hate human freedom above all else, and wish to have nothing to do with it. They want to destroy it, if possible, and yet at the same time make us into moral automata, into nothing but angelic goodness. And if I may use an earthly expression to describe this, they, quote, fight tooth and nail, close quote, to achieve this. In contrast to these beings, which, if you like, build their fortresses in the air, though please understand I am speaking metaphorically, there are others I mentioned last time in a particular context. These have to do with what expresses itself in us in instincts, drives, desires, and passions. But they do not dwell inside us. Only their effects are to be found there. These beings live directly upon the earth, yet in a way that is invisible to people, because they never acquire a body formed in a way we could ordinarily see. They possess only a body that lives in the elements of earth and water, and their deeds manifest in the ebb and flow of tides, in volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tremors. Behind these phenomena, which, as you know, leave scientists helpless and perplexed, the spiritually honed gaze perceives a world of subhuman entities. And these subhuman entities are subject to the rule of powers I always refer to as Ahrimanic. These Ahrimanic powers, with their diverse sub-spirits, including sprite and goblin-like beings who dwell in the elements of earth and water, have set themselves a different task. We really can't hold it against all these beings that they do what they do. There is no point in being annoyed with Luciferic beings, for they have the very best motivations. They want to make us intrinsically moral, albeit without any freedom at all. Moral automata. Yet they do want the best for us. The other beings, who have their fortresses directly under the Earth's surface, exert influences that rise into our metabolism. The ebb and flow of the tides, and the volcanic eruptions or earthquakes we witness too, though less regularly, are something that comes to expression also in the continual ebb and flow of human metabolism, and is always present there. These are the Ahrimanic effects. Whereas the Luciferic spirits build their castles in the air to battle against the earth on behalf of morality, these other beings battle to harden us and make us resemble them. By succumbing to them, we would become endlessly clever in the material realm, endlessly ingenious, incredibly intelligent. These beings cannot achieve this directly, and therefore seek to do so indirectly. Their millennia-old exertions have indeed succeeded in shaping and developing a whole race of subhuman entities that take possession of human instinctual nature, if this is especially rampant, so that such people fall prey to these Ahrimanic powers during their lifetime. If someone has fallen prey during his lifetime to the Ahrimanic powers, he is given up entirely to his passions, instincts, and drives, becoming rampant in his desires, these beings can, in quotes, harvest this after his death to create a whole population, a subhuman populace of the earth, which does indeed already exist. This does really exist in the elements of water and earth. And if we ask what such Ahrimanic beings intend with this subhuman populace, it is this: to draw this kind of instinctual nature from a human being and make it into a being of earth and water. And beings of earth and water do now actually populate the strata directly below the earth's surface. There they dwell. People who can use spiritual vision to observe minds know such entities very well. They exist there, having been torn from a human being at the moment of his death. And there waits Ahriman. There wait the Ahrimanic powers for a person's karma, caused by instincts, drives, and passions, to lead him down into an incarnation where he takes special pleasure in such a being, and therefore finds in a particular life on earth that he does not wish to return to the world of spirit. Having left his physical body, from which after all we depart again for a supersensible life, he will seek instead to be embodied in a subsensible being of this kind, to remain united with the earth, no longer to die, but choosing to remain united with the earth as a subsensible entity. One has to be astonished, since Ahrimanic beings, after all, are extraordinarily intelligent. As paradoxical as it sounds, they always think, and this is a quite accurate finding, that by this means they will be able to entice so many people into their race that eventually the earth will be populated entirely by subhuman Ahrimanic entities of this kind. And their intention is to make the earth immortal as a result, so that it does not atomize in universal space. In our earthly human environs, therefore, we have two hosts: one of beings in the atmosphere who want to make us moral, but by lifting us away from the earth, and of Ahrimanic beings directly below the earth's surface, who seek to draw us down and bind us irrevocably to the earth. These two types of being exist in the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms, and also in the ordinary physical domain of human nature. Insofar as we do not dwell excessively in drives, passions, and desires, they are compelled to endure each other's presence within us. In primordial times, the God who is called God the Father in the Christian religion maintained peace in the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms, and also in the external animal and physical nature of humankind. God the Father kept the peace in these kingdoms, and also in the animal nature of human beings, insofar as it is not raised into the soul domain, and so cannot be contaminated by our drives, desires, and passions. If you pick up a crystal, a stone, or a plant, you won't notice any discord there between these two types of beings. But the moment you consider how our soul penetrates the body, you will find the Luciferic beings relating in a particular way to the Ahrimanic ones, as it were, saying to them, quote, "We promised God the Father that we will not dispute about minerals, plants, or animals, nor about the human being, as long as he remained in olden times an unconscious being who did not reflect, who lived like an animal. But we will fight tooth and nail over the human being who has achieved self-awareness." Close quote. Indeed, a terrible war is waged between beings of air and fire and those of earth and water to possess the human being. We have to realize this. Nowadays, humanity has developed great knowledge of external nature. Within this natural world, Luciferic and Ahrimanic beings live side by side and endure each other. But human beings are unaware of what lives beyond the sensory world, of supersensible nature and subhuman nature. These two realms conceal beings who fight this terrible war to possess the human being as I have described. The being called Yahweh or Jehovah in the Old Testament dwells, if I may use this expression, and remembering what I said about how I'm using such words, in the moon. In other words, this entelechy in the cosmos belongs to what comes to expression in physical moon phenomena. This moon being, Yahweh, has the following task in the world order. The primary task of this intelligence is to lead to earth the human being as he descends from the world of spirit and soul and mantles himself in a body. But this Yahweh being also, if you like, retains the right to be involved with the human being on earth as well, and to regulate everything that relates to the powers of reproduction. So this Yahweh being, dwelling as it were in the moon, leads us down to earth and seeks to rule in us everything connected with the drives and instincts of reproduction. Yet reproduction cannot be ruled in isolation, since it connects with other human instincts and drives. And therefore, the Yahweh being needs helpers to maintain harmony between the instincts relating, for instance, to eating and drinking, and those involved in the instincts of reproduction, and to ensure that drives and instincts are ruled in general. And Yahweh, the moon god, if I may call him that, finds these helpers in Mercury and Venus. In the spiritual cosmos, therefore, we find a kind of alliance between the moon, the Yahweh being there, and everything populating the moon alongside Yahweh, and the beings in Venus and Mercury. The beings in this alliance seek to maintain dominion over our flesh and blood from the moon, Mercury, and Venus. We are not just earthly beings, but effects play into us from the universe. If we now consider the beings I referred to earlier as Ahrimanic, who as beings of earth and water build their fortress below the earth's surface, we find that they have not grown mature enough to approach these celestial bodies in the same way that Yahweh inhabits the moon, or his helpers inhabit Mercury and Venus. In the world